Good evening, I'm Bo Williams.
And I'm Don Hudson. For the first time today, we are hearing from Deputy Shelby Eggers and the Blount County officer who was shot, injured in the line of duty, about the tragic death of her colleague, Deputy Greg McCowan.
You know, today was the preliminary hearing for Kenneth Wayne DeHart Jr. As we've been telling you, he's the man accused of shooting and killing Deputy McCowan and injuring Deputy Eggers during a traffic stop back on February 8th.
As a reminder, DeHart was on the run for 5 days before he was eventually tracked down to a house in East Knoxville, where he surrendered to a crowd of officers, TBI agents, and U.S. Marshals. He's facing charges of first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder, along with weapons charges because of previous convictions.
Today, a judge bound the case over to the grand jury, but as WAT's Molly O'Brien shares, not before some emotional testimony from the deputy that knows this case better than anyone else. Molly.
That's right, Bo and Don. A packed room in court today for Kenneth DeHart's preliminary hearing. The state only calling 2 witnesses to the stand. Those were Blount County Sheriff's Deputy Shelby Eggers and TBI Special Agent Maria Cutshaw.
They would call Deputy Shelby Eggers.
Blount County Sheriff's Deputy Shelby Eggers called to the stand. Eggers still on crutches after being shot during that traffic stop. The deputy facing questions on the stand for about an hour, but it was this moment that was perhaps the most powerful as she comes face to face with Kenneth DeHart.
Morning.
Deputy Eggers explaining the initial reason she conducted the traffic stop.
I observed the vehicle go all the way left to the center line to where the driver's side front tire was almost touching the white fault line on the opposite side of the road.
She continued to detail the timeline of events that unfolded, including when Deputy Greg McCowan arrived on the scene. Deputy McCowan eventually deploying a taser after DeHart refused to get out of the vehicle.
I opened the door while the taser was being deployed. Reached in to grab the seat belt, and I got wrapped up in the wire, so I got tased as well.
Deputy Eggers telling the court she moved back from the car after being tased, and seconds later, she heard gunshots.
I fell to the ground immediately, and everything kind of moved slow motion. I couldn't get myself up, and I thought, I took a breath, and I accepted death because I thought he was going to fire at me again. And he had an advantage over me. He could have shot me in the back of the head. I thought he was going to kill me.
Eventually, Deputy Eggers explained how she was able to get back on her feet and ran behind Deputy McCowan's car.
I fired 3 rounds from my service weapon, and he turned right on the Sevierville Road, the way we were facing. He turned right on the Sevierville Road, and I still had my gun out, but I knew that I couldn't shoot anymore because I had a line of cars.
Following Deputy Eggers' testimony, the state calling Maria Cutshaw with the TBI. Cutshaw was one of the agents who was called to the scene that night. She explained that she was in the room during Deputy McCowan's autopsy.
One on his right side, but if you were looking at him, it would have been to the right side of his nipple. And there was also one on his left lower abdomen.
Now, at the end of the hearing, the defense questioning the first-degree murder charge, the defense believing it was second-degree murder, arguing that there was no premeditation. Ultimately, the judge ruling the case will be bound over to the grand jury with the current charges of first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and being a felon in possession of a weapon. Bo?